Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this week's Op Solutions live interview. And I'm very excited to bring you a very interesting entrepreneur, a business consultant who has a unique way of engaging your team, a different framework for thinking about and engaging the power of your team. So I'd like to introduce Amy Lafka. And Amy Lafko, I apologize. See, I knew I was going to screw up your name.
You were so close. I was going to let it go. No problem.
No, it's important.
I'm the Laugh Company.
I love it. Oh, very good. I'm known for laughing. So that's perfect pairing. I love it. So Amy Lafko, and Amy, you are the founder of the Cairns Consulting Organization. And I love your tagline. And we were talking about this. I absolutely love the tagline, grow your people to grow your business. So talk a little bit about that, Amy. What do you mean by grow your people to grow your business?
I've come to realize that we spend a lot of time and a lot of money on initiatives around how to be more cost effective. We spend initiatives on how to bring in more customers and those types of things. But the biggest return on your investment is when your team is not only engaged, but empowered to do their best work. And when I think about grow your business, for a lot of my clients, it's bottom line revenue growth. Maybe it's opening an additional office, or it's adding additional service providing supplies, whatever it may be. But for so often for some of my clients, it's the ability to grow their business to a place where they're not having to be in the weeds all the time, 24/7. And so that's what I'm thinking about when I say grow your business. There's more than one way to grow it, and grow your people is really engaging and empowering them to be their best, because that's where the ROI comes from.
Very good. That's phenomenal. And I love that approach. Now, talk a little bit about how you came here. Like, what was your background and experience that you came to this insight? Because I think it's very important. I think how you talking, Amy, for me, an engaged team set up to win, set up to be heroes for your clients, I believe is one of the main profit drivers in a business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love you saying heroes in the business. So I'm a physical therapist by background. And, people always say, how did you get into consulting? And I said, in reality, it's very similar to physical therapy. You identify the problems, you create a treatment plan, and then you execute. I spent over 20 years in healthcare leadership operations, running different parts of organizations. And I blew it big time with one of my teams. And it was the most valuable experience I've ever had, because it forced me to recognize what happens when you don't grow your people, when you don't put your people first. And I was basically bulldozing over my people to get to patient first. And it didn't work. And I'm just so fortunate that the company I was working with was willing to just move me and say, oh, give it another shot, see what you can do. And I took all the lessons I learned and I did everything in the opposite of how I'd done it before. And it was phenomenal. It was so transformational. And the team grew. I mean, we added 15 new therapists. We made so many inroads when it came to our revenue and the services that we could provide patients. But more than that, just the way people showed up at work. They came to work saying, what can I do today? Instead of, oh God, here I am again, And I tell this story, but the best moment was when I was doing really well in this division, and I was asked to go serve in urgent care because they said it's a mess and they need you. And I'm like, okay. And they said, we have 70% turnover, patient experience scores are in the 1 percentile. Like, I didn't even know that was really possible. And they said, so we need you to go fix patient experience. And I went over there, and within a week, one of the front office registration people explained the entire problem with the department. I said, guys, we have 5 locations. I said, what would it take for you to actually engage the patient when they walk in, look them in the eye, say, I'm sorry you're not feeling well? And she pointed her finger at me and she said, I will never care about those people until you people care about me. there it was. She gave me the tagline, you know, care about your people if you want them to care about the patients and care about the business.
That's so great. I think it was Zig Ziglar. I'm trying to remember the book. It was either Zig Ziglar or the book I read, Service America. This is back in the 80s. And it was a truism. And the truism is how the owner treats the executives, how the executive treats the managers, which is how the managers treat the front line, which is how the front line treat your customers.
Yeah.
Everything is top down, and how you treat. I love the idea of a reverse org chart, that the customers or clients or patients are at the top of the org chart, and then the frontline people serving them, and then the people serving them. It's really, who are your clients?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Well, and I actually, in my book, I turn it on its side because I want people to be able to work from left to right and to show that, yes, there's steps across, but it's not up and down. And it's funny when people say to me, well, who are people? I do. And you said it, you know, what the owner does trickles down. And so I love those champagne glass pyramids, you know, and they make the big deal of swishing off the champagne cork. And when they tip that champagne in, you have to fill that top cup in order for it to trickle down. So sometimes I think what happens is business owners are so busy taking care of their customers, taking care of all of these pieces, they don't care for themselves. And if you were to fill that champagne tower, if you filled only the bottom glasses, the patient or the customer glasses, and you took one of those out to sip, the whole thing's still going to fall over. So it does all have to trickle down where the owners taking care of the executives who are taking care of the team, and then the team takes care of the patient. Absolutely.
Yes. But I love that example because it also means that the owner is is really in charge of making sure that they're in a position to do that. Because if you're
Yes,
burnt out, you're fried. You
exactly.
know, everyone appears stupid, and contrary and problem based
Yeah,
if you're tired.
absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, that's such a big issue right now. And, you know, one of my clients, I didn't even realize this, but she shared with me, she said, you do realize you saved my marriage. And I said, what? And she said, yeah, he kept saying, let's go on vacation. And I said, I can't take a vacation. And so for 5 years, they didn't go away. And for 5 years, she was doing 12, 13 hours because she couldn't step away. And she needs to take care of herself as well as everyone else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, interesting. And that awareness. So one of the things when I was puttering around on your website, and some of the approaches, Amy. So I like that because when you're working with an organization, you come from a place of mindset and listening and questions, and it's like it's a very different framework than what we've been taught.
Yeah.
Right, owner, employee. I'm taking a lead from Shannon Waller. I don't use the word employee.
Neither do I. Absolutely
It's
not.
team member. It's where, it's all of us are in this together. We're on the team together. And
Yes.
right. And so,
Yes.
it's not, none of us are in a box.
Yeah. Well, and here's an interesting one. And this was actually my first mental switch. So I struggled with that mindset shift. And so I started to switch my language and my behaviors until my mindset caught up with me. And one of the first switches I made was from a phenomenal mentor of mine who said, Amy, it's the people I support. So when he talks about his team, he said, I have 18 directors who I support. And his mindset is that his job is to support them, and everything he does is around supporting them. And so that was the first change in language that drove my mindset in the right direction. Because you're right, it's building on what's your mindset, what are you saying, how are you carrying out your business. And in what you do, I think a lot of times we get caught up in one leader or one manager's perspective. And what I've helped my clients see, it's actually more than that. It's how you design your organization. That's the do. It's how do you design an organization to optimize that employee experience, which then optimizes your customer's experience.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. Um, in funny, you're saying that the languaging I use is how do you set your team up for success?
Yes.
That's supporting your team. It's every single person wants to feel like they're winning.
Mm-hmm.
And this was one of the pharmacy owners I worked with, Chris Cornelison, and he's very good at culture. He's very good. And it was actually one of his insights was that his team wanted to do well. They wanted to do a good job. They wanted to do what the business needed. They wanted to please him, but they were spending at least 70% of the time guessing what he wanted.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes. Oh,
Right.
yep.
And so setting the team up to win, there's a structure. What for you, what do you want to see? What are some of the ways that owners, management can set their team up to win?
Oh my gosh. It is so important, and I just had this call with a client the other day. She's in an accounting firm, and it's public accounting. And so they're going into busy season. And this is obviously a big change for them because it's now all virtual. And she said, busy season was bad enough when we were in the office and I could peek over the cubicle and go, what are you doing right now? And I said, you need to have them map out the plan. You need to, she said, well, they know October 15th is the deadline. I'm like, yeah, so do I. And I'm not even an accountant and I know October 15th is your deadline. I said, but what has to happen in what order between now and October 15th for you to be successful? She goes, oh man, I didn't think of it that way. And so we had a meeting with her team and we asked them that question. And then we identified where people had gaps in their knowledge and in their critical thinking, where she said, I realized that person B didn't actually know all the steps that it took to get to October 15th. I said, fantastic. That's wonderful news. Now we can show it to them. They can tell it to us, and then we can work on it together.
And
Yeah.
I think that's a great example of the opportunity this year. Now that we are virtual,
Mhm.
either teams are 100% virtual right now, or a large number of them are virtual. And even if offices are starting to come back and be open, we're still dealing with a good chunk of the team, if not all the team, is virtual. And
Mhm.
that was a great example of identifying gaps that we can get away with when we're in person,
Yes.
because somebody picks up the slack. It's actually a buzzword I've been hearing quite a bit this year, which is, lean systems, streamline, processes, I've seen whole consulting companies right now that all they're doing is figuring out what needs to happen for the team to work effectively and productively.
Absolutely. And that's so much of it. And I think the hard part is we had these problems before, but
Yes.
like you said, we could cover it up because we could peek around the cubicle, or, I had someone reach out to me a couple months ago and said, I think my leadership team could use some communication training or maybe some leadership development. And I said, okay. And then they said, you know what? No, we're probably fine. And then this hit. And unfortunately, all the cracks in their organization were revealed. And you can't just stucco over them. They went to reopen their offices and 55% of the people said, I'm not coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because the cracks were always there, but you could ignore them. They were covered with this light film. And so the way I think about leaning out an organization or those types of things and your processes, it's actually about alignment. It is, are we all truly aligned and inspired around the right things?
Mm-hmm.
And if the answer to that is yes, then our job as leaders is to simply figure out where are the gaps in each employee's ability to stay aligned with that mission. And then my job is to help them fill in that gap.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we're looking for.
Yes. Yes, that's great. And Amy, do you have any, one of the things we talked about is why is it so important today? As you said, there might have been cracks that we could kind of stucco over, and now we can't. I mean, that's actually the biggest opportunity, is to cement in place based on what's showing up.
Exactly.
So what are some actions? What would you recommend companies do today? And have with this people first focus and the opportunity of creating that alignment and creating that structure.
I think one of the first things for the owner to think about is their mindset when it comes to their people.
Mm.
Right now, our economy resists people being able to leave their job. So, a few months ago, a year ago, people were talking about, oh, there's so little unemployment. People can switch out of their jobs, and that's why we're in a tough spot. Yeah, they were leaving, but if they were unhappy, it was better they left. Whereas now, the economy is driving people to actually stay, even if they're not happy. So the first thing you need to do is understand where your team members are and what is driving their motivations. The second thing that you need to do is understand what's important to them to be successful. A lot of companies will do employee engagement activities. And I'm like, if you're defining your success as, yes, we got out of the escape room, then sure, that engagement activity was a success. Mm-hmm. But steps that your team can take: confirm the mission, spend time aligning people around the mission, mm-hmm. uncover where team members are struggling to achieve the mission. There might be new gaps in tools that you weren't aware are there. You might have some team members who are like, thank goodness, I never need to set foot in the office again. And you may have other team members who are struggling. And, one of my clients said, oh, we've got this now. This home thing, we're fine. And I was talking to some of the team members, they're really struggling. And there's assumption we've been at this for 6 months, so everything's got to be fine now. So one of the best first steps is, whoever you lead, I want you to go back and I want you to set up a 30-minute one-on-one with them. And I only want you to ask a few questions. What's gone well this week? What's your biggest challenge right now? What support do you need from me? That's it. Take that, do 30 minutes with each team member, answer those 3 questions, and that will drive what comes next for you as a leader.
Those are great questions, Amy. What's gone well this week? What are the challenges you're dealing with? And how can I support you? Or what support do you need?
Yes, absolutely.
Those 3 questions, I think those are amazing. And I think just that alone, if you, especially if you get the key, your key directors or managers that then can encourage them to do it with their team.
Yes.
The ripple effect.
It's that trickle down, so it all trickles up. And, I did this with one of my clients the other day, and she emailed me and said, I need to tell you the outcome of those questions. I said, yeah, what happened? She goes, it turns out the reason my one team member was saying she was too busy to take on this new project, I thought she'd finished a project for another manager 3 months ago, and they're still working on it. So she's got 20 hours a week she's working on that, and I thought she was slacking off at home. How amazing is that? Just 3 questions got her to a whole new place.
Yes. Yeah, because our perception creates our reality.
Oh my gosh.
If you're stuck in that without information, you're going to create it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, I love it. And Amy, you have a white paper you're going to share.
Yeah.
Do you want to just talk a little bit about what's in the white paper and how they're going to get access to it?
Absolutely. So the white paper is the people first paradigm, and it is structured around the life cycle of the employee. My goal, my mission is to help people have a paradigm shift in how they view the life cycle of the employee. We talk about, recruiting and hiring. What if we thought about it as our ability to attract and then have the ability to select? We talk about onboarding and orienting. I want you to inspire them and I want you to align them. And then we talk about retaining. I want you to engage and I want you to empower. And actually, if you focus on inspire, align, engage, and empower, then that first step of the life cycle, attract and select, happens automatically. It becomes a byproduct. So the white paper will actually walk you through a little bit of research to explain the ROI on doing this. And then it gives you practical, tactical things that you can put into place to actually achieve at each phase of the life cycle some different components that you can put into place to actually transform your organization.
Wow, that's phenomenal. Thank you. I'm looking forward to reading it. And when we're going to put the link to the white paper in
Yes,
the comments of the Facebook Live video.
yes, yes, we will. Absolutely. And I'm more than happy. I'll also include a link so that you can email me directly if you've got questions. And if you're on my website, you can certainly schedule time with me, but I'm always happy to do some strategy calls with folks.
Wonderful. That's great. Amy, any last thoughts or comments you want to add in before we wrap up?
You can do this. Wherever you are right now, however successful or struggling your business is, if you take the time to grow your people, you'll grow your business, no matter what your definition of growth is. And if you can have that mindset, the rest will come.
That's fabulous. It's and very timely, Amy, in this time of crisis. Crisis interrupts all patterns, and
Mhm.
that's actually our opportunity.
It is, absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, everyone, that is this week's Facebook Live. Amy, thank you for joining me. It was a
What
real
a
treat.
great conversation. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. Everyone, have a great week.